long before it became the City of Light, before the first stone was laid, before the first king was crowned. This place was nothing but a wild, untamed loop of water. For millennia, the Seine carved its slow path through a vast, silent, green valley, a landscape shaped by nature alone, rich, fertile, and waiting. The river did not simply divide the land, it created a sanctuary, a cluster of strategic islands cradled in the heart of the water, protected, hidden, perfect. Look closely at these shores, because beneath the ancient mud, beneath the dense, tangled forests, lies the invisible blueprint of a future global metropolis. Human history here truly began in the 3rd century BC with the arrival of a bold Celtic tribe, the Parisii. These were not wanderers, they were master boat builders, skilled fishermen, fierce warriors, and they understood instantly the value of this river. By settling on the islands, they seized total control of the water trade. They raised sturdy wooden huts, dug earthworks to guard their borders, and grew rich, taxing every merchant who dared pass through. Slowly, this quiet wilderness became something else entirely, a bustling, energetic crossroads of commerce. And the destiny of this region was sealed forever to the waters that protected it. But wealth like this does not stay secret for long. Far to the south, the ancient world was shifting. Julius Caesar's legions marched across Western Europe, swallowing one independent tribe after another into the iron grip of Rome. By the middle of the 1st century BC, the war machine turned its eyes north, toward Gaul. Caesar knew controlling this river crossing was the key to his conquest. The peaceful trading days of the Parisii were numbered. And as dust clouds rose on the horizon, thousands of Roman legionnaires marching closer with every hour, the Celts understood this would be a fight for survival. 52 BC. The conflict reaches its boiling point, the Battle of Lutetia. The Gallic forces, led by the venerable chief Camulodunus, fight with everything they have. Immense bravery. But it is not enough, outmatched by the superior tactics of the Roman general Labienus. And when defeat becomes inevitable, the Parisii make a decision that is both terrifying and heroic. Rather than hand their home to the conquerors, they burn it themselves. In a matter of hours, wooden homes, docks, sacred spaces, all devoured by flame. The bridges cut down. The Romans win the territory, but they inherit nothing, only a smoking island of ash. Where Celtic wood had burned, Roman stone began to rise. The conquerors rebuilt the city, but not where it stood before. Roman engineers turned instead to the solid, elevated ground of the left bank, along the slope of the Sainte Geneviève Hill. They laid down a flawless grid, anchored by a great north-south road, the very same street we now call the Rue Saint-Jacques. Over the next 2 centuries, Lutetia grew into a proud Roman city, an open-air forum, vast thermal baths, and an amphitheater, large enough to hold thousands. Roman culture planted firmly at the heart of Gaul. But by the late 3rd century, the golden age of Pax Romana begins to splinter. The frontiers collapse. Wave after wave of Germanic tribes sweep across the unprotected towns of Gaul. And Lutetia's beautiful open left bank becomes far too dangerous to live in. In a desperate bid for survival, the citizens abandon their luxurious villas and retreat back to the natural fortress of the Ile de la Cité. They tear down old Roman stones and rebuild them into walls. In this dark era of fear and resilience, the city sheds its Roman skin. Around the year 310, it drops the name Lutetia forever and proudly reclaims the name of its first original people. It becomes Paris. As the Western Roman Empire finally collapses into ruin, a new power rises from the north. In the year 508, Clovis, legendary king of the Franks, unifies the warring tribes and crushes the last remnants of Roman authority. Clovis looks out across his vast new territory, and he makes a decision that will echo for centuries. Its central location, its navigable river, its ancient defenses. He declares Paris the capital of the Frankish kingdom. Everything changes in that moment. No longer a regional outpost, Paris is now the beating heart of royal power, religion, and politics for a nation still being born. But the wealth of this new capital attracts a new kind of nightmare. During the 9th century, Viking sails appear on the Seine. Norse raiders sweeping deep into France, pillaging with brutal, terrifying efficiency. Then, in 885, a fleet, hundreds of Viking ships surrounding Paris. A siege begins. It will last nearly a year. The islands completely cut off. And yet, under the fierce leadership of Count Eudes, the Parisians refuse to break. They defend their bridges, their walls, with desperate, relentless heroism. This resistance does more than save the city. It proves to all of Europe that Paris can't be easily conquered. Following the Viking Wars, a new dynasty takes the throne, the Capetians. And under their rule, medieval Paris begins to grow, spilling beyond its island shores, splitting naturally into 3 districts that still define the city today. The Ile de la Cité, the sacred center of royal and religious power, marked by the rising towers of Notre-Dame. The right bank, with its bustling ports and the great covered markets of Les Halles, the roaring engine of commerce and finance. And the left bank, transformed into a sanctuary of knowledge, where students and monks from across Europe gather to speak Latin and study at a newly founded university, the Sorbonne. At the turn of the 13th century, King Philippe Auguste sets out to make Paris undeniable. Facing constant threats from the Anglo-Norman Empire, he knows the city needs one thing above all: a permanent, impenetrable defense. He orders the construction of a colossal stone wall, stretching for miles on both sides of the river, studded with watchtowers and heavily guarded gates. And to improve daily life inside this new fortress, he orders the paving of Paris's notoriously muddy streets. One vast engineering project, one united city, offering safety at last to a population racing past 100,000 souls. And to guard the wall's most vulnerable edge, right on the riverbank, Philippe Auguste raises one final fortress. Fierce, heavy-set, built purely for war. Its massive keep stands as a warning to any fleet that dares approach. He calls it the Louvre. With this last masterstroke, the founding era of Paris is complete. A small, vulnerable settlement of Celtic fishermen has endured fire, conquest, invasion, and siege to become the capital of France. Born from the mud of a river island, Paris has built its walls, written its laws, and prepared itself at last to become an eternal beacon of culture, art, and light to the entire world.